interesting life. But the sickest I've ever been is really when I remember thinking back in my brain, literally having the knowledge to swim around in my own brain, and I couldn't get out. And it took me to be now or older, and when I finally talked to a speech pathologist when I broke my neck and back after a truck accident. That he talked to me about. I finally asked, what did he think it was? And he said, that's impossible. He said, that sounds like you were sunk back in your own mind. I said, that's what I thought, because it looked like a fleshy. I said, I was caught in a maze. It was like a maze of the mind, and it looked from the inside like I was caught, and no matter which way I went, I couldn't get out. And I was unconscious, but I had a sight inside the body. He'd never heard of that, but he was the only doctor that I guess I'd ever really talked to. I don't remember ever telling anyone about it. So, a lot of us are like that. We won't share to find out. You won't ask the questions to get the answers, or at least get some feedback, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, people do look at you like you're crazy, or you made it up, or you exaggerated it. So, and then I read one time that a sign of maturity is that you can listen to somebody else talk about their operations without discussing your operations. And so I learned to button my lip fairly early. So, but it is my memories that I've worked harder to recover. Have been centered in what happened to me while I was anesthetized, because I think that's where people, they have memories. They think they have memories, but they really aren't memories. They're anesthetic memories. So that I think is a different type of work, and it's well worth the effort to work on recovering those memories and seeing it accurately, not like your mind has told you remember it. So it's complicated. It's quite complicated. TJ, great story, really great story. Thanks for sharing your story about you and your daughter. Oh wow!
Is it only one time though? I'm still trying to get. Have you been in surgery or only once ever? Or because my daughter said she'd never been put under. Even she just used Twilight recently, and that shocked me. Even though she's my daughter, because my life was so full of being in the hospital. In surgery, so you only had the one appendicitis?
No. I've had several surgeries, and it's a complicated process, I think, to get back those memories accurately with what happens with the anesthetic. Had difficulties with my health as a child, and the appendicitis was kind of an interesting thing, because I had 2 ovary conditions that they just never found them. And then they sent me to a specialist lab for a scan, and then that's when they found the problem. So up until that point, they just were of the opinion that I was complaining about nothing. So it was kind of a difficult situation. So it took a while to get it diagnosed accurately. And I had been in the hospital, and the girls were talking about their weekend, and they didn't do a good job on my, they did a pelvic sonogram, and they didn't do a good job because they were too busy visiting. Oh.
But you finally had children, I take it.
I had had one child at that point, and then I had one child after that. Yes. So it didn't impact my fertility. No, it did not.
Wow. But was there anything else wrong physically? Because I remember the first time I went under anesthesia, I had my tonsils out. Did you have your tonsils out?
I had my tonsils and adenoids put out, and then it was an early procedure when I had it done in 1964. They put tubes in my ears. It was still a relatively new procedure in California. So I had tubes.
So we both had that done.
Yep.
Yeah, my daughter had tubes in her ears. 69, I guess, but I was the mother by that time. I was a young mother, and you had yours in '64. She was born in March '68.
Huh.
So, but I'm almost 10 years older than you because I'll be 69 December 26.
Huh.
And you just turned 60, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, we're almost exactly to the day 9 years apart.
9 years. That's almost a decade. And that's my daughter didn't realize what a big, she was like Angela's just only 10 years younger than you, and she was like, I know, but that's a decade, honey. Think about it. And when I was in my 40s, I was prime, and now I'm in 60. I'm going to be 69. But 10 years makes a big difference. It may not between 20 and 30, but it sure does 60 to 70, let me tell you.
60 to 70. Same thing. So but did you make a recovery? I mean, did you make a recovery after your fourth child was born? Did you recover?
Well, it took a long time. I have a huge life. Yeah, I got better like Superwoman. And my kids never knew anything was ever wrong with me. I've been close to death so many times in this reality that this got to be for a reason. So that's why I don't mind sharing radio now. But it is a little embarrassing, and I know it is for you too. But, I think that there's a calling for people that have had the experiences we've had. And, I've been doing radio 8 years now. We had a lot of people tune in, but they wanted readings. Of course, they left the board once they realized I was going to tell my story. So, a lot of people. So I moved us from spirituality to entertainment. That's what I did. I flipped us over to entertainment for those that want to know stories like this. They may use them in entertainment or whatever. But it's open source, folks. But I'm just looking to help those that need help, and some people may want to know about their expansion of the soul and NDE, and it's doing radio is what I do now because I can do I guess we're all going to MP4s, but right now we're still working with MP3s and live. These are podcasts, and it seems to be a way to get your name and your voice out there and your story. And Suzanne and I are both finding each other and learning how to help each other be older women, but at the same time come together and help those that want life coaching and help with precognition or help with the future, and how we come together as oracles and psychics. And I've trained a lot, she has too, and what we did to study was basically read a lot of books and get a lot of teachers along the way, a lot of mentors, and listen to a lot of films. And I paid a lot of money to seminars and help self-help, motivation. I'm sure you did too. So there's just, by the time you get to our age, then you can just sit on what you know or do deep learning now in AI and cyberspace and the transference learning, and hopefully have people that are receptive to accepting what we've got to share with each other and those abroad and wherever you are out there in space. And there's a lot of deep subjects we can continue metaphysically and scientifically and consciously. But I've got Soul Expanse. How do you think, Suzanne, let's sort of combine and look at each other, what we have in common as to we've both been out of body. So apparently there's something, we were both born in America, and you'd be my younger sister by 9 years, we'll say. And yet, I have sisters, and all of them are within that 9 years. One was born in 54, and one 63, and one in 67, November 67. Was that when I was married and she was already born? So you must have been born in 66 because I think she was at my wedding, so 66. So it's funny. Or was it? Yeah, she was already born when I got married. So Tish must have been born in 66. I've got three sisters. But how we're siblings is important, and I know when you're born and then you live and you die, in your soul expanse, it's got to be that life is about more than just existing in this reality. And we were talking today about dimensions, and I thought sharing the expansion of our consciousness and what we call our essence, our soul. It's a pretty deep subject you don't have with just everybody, but Suzanne and I have never really had a deep talk, and I thought we'd invite all you listeners out there to get to know us a little better, and we hopefully in 2021 may get out there and have a meeting, and I hope she and I will write a book on our intuitive side, but also how the experiences and the way that we deal with our own souls helps others. So, Suzanne, you have a very in-depth, and you call yourself a deep psychic. So you've got key words you use. You want to use that with the soul expanse tonight and your deep, I've got soul expansion consciousness. I've got two women share their own near-death experiences in soul expansion consciousness.
Right. It's such an interesting experience because as a child, I must have felt extremely lonely. They say that your cosmic mother comes to you. And in a lot of ways, I think I was really very lonely as a child. But I just remember getting very comfortable with the process of being alone. So I was deaf, and nobody figured it out for a while. So it wasn't until I was 4 that they went to work on restoring my hearing. So my early memories are in silence, which I really didn't think about too much. And then I did John Asseroff's neurogym work, and I retrieved a fair amount of memories that I hadn't had before, based on the fact of not hearing in my early life. So, and then I was sick quite a bit, and I'm sure it was difficult for my mother. And but it was silence. It was absolute silence. And so I do remember spending a lot of time alone and being very content with being alone for long periods of time very early in my life. So that part is kind of interesting. My older brother and my older sister were very good friends, and they were very close with one another. And I don't think that they were ever really too happy about having a younger sibling. So I just sort of, what children are like. They just accept those circumstances, and I sort of went into my own world. Today, I guess they would say that there was something sort of wrong with me, but, at the time it was just a different world, and those things weren't so accurately diagnosed. And then, of course, they worked on restoring my hearing, and for the most part, there is no problem in my life with hearing or anything like that. I managed just fine. So, but I think I had a lot of spiritual experiences as a young child, and that was kind of interesting when I looked back at those memories. Having memory of what it was like when my mother was waiting to give birth to me, the awareness that I started dreaming at that point in time, and the memory of those dreams, and also the awareness that I was a soul, an eternal soul, and that I had chosen to be reborn. Those were some of the early experiences I remember as being a child waiting in utero, and I spent a lot of time doing regression work on that. But, yeah, my early childhood, I think I was very content with the spirit world and the dream world, and that was the source of my relationships. So I don't think it necessarily made me a interesting person as a young child, but at this point in time in my life, it has served me really well.
Well, I didn't have the upbringing you did. I was a sick child, and so out of body, I spent a lot of time in my own mind and deep, and knowing that I felt trapped. But at the same time, I was so relieved to be conscious and to have this, be aware of being in the body. But I also know the feeling of being above myself, and I don't consider that much different than being in the body, but the feeling feels different because the sight, and you and I were talking about azimuthal equilateral distance, and also you had the quantum, azimuthal quantum today, but that sight, and I believe that what we're